we're gonna have this lady selected and this man selected, and we're gonna drag her down, holding down Alt, and it'll replace and update. So now we have a lady falling. Look at that. Ah, gosh, I love it. And for just sake of sakes, make sure she's centered, because I'm a crazy person. Alright, but in the Raining Ladies, we still have men falling. So we're going to select all these, and we're going to do the same thing, and we're just going to do ladies falling. Boom. Now we have ladies falling. And since we know in the population that's 85, we're going to want to do 8 of these ladies red. So go ahead and do this and make them red. And then we can have this one selected. We'll go ahead and close all these so it's not cluttered up here. Color, pick the red, and then I made them yellow. I don't know why I made them yellow. Let's make them red. Boom. Select the red. Also, you can select the color and then do select label group, which is always useful if you have like 50 layers, because things can get pretty crazy with these infographics. And we have ladies falling, and if we go ladies final, we just got to replace these raining men with raining ladies. And there we go. Easy peasy, pumpkin breezy. Love it. Alright, here we go. Population. We can actually delete these ladies. And we're going to bring these ladies falling final right under the men. Actually, we're going to put them over the men. There we go. Doesn't have to be exact to the layout that we have here in the Illustrator file. We can move things around unless the graphics person, the graphic designer, specifically had a layout. So then, of course, go by the layout. But I'm not going to do that. So, moving on. Here we go. Make that blue. Let's go ahead and lock these. Just call those done. We're going to want to move this. Make those red. Make that blue. We're not going to animate these. We can do that at a later time. So I'm just going to shut those off. Call them as none. Hide them. Hide them. Don't want to deal with them. Don't want to look at them. Don't want to see them. And we're going to do the population banner to, I don't know, let's do orange. And the reflection, same thing. We're going to turn it off. We're going to hide it. Don't want to deal with it. So let's go ahead and pre-compose the marker here. And we're going to do the 50. Just call it 50 marker. And we can do the same thing with the 85 marker. 85 marker. Alright, so, and now we can, same thing with the 50 marker, we're going to pre-compose the 85. So we can go ahead and lock these, and that as well, just so we can select it. Control-Shift-C for pre-comp, we'll call that 85 marker. Same thing with the population banner. Control-Shift-C, we'll just call that banner, Eric banner. Boom. Alright, and I want to go ahead and put these in the elements folder. So there they are. There we go. So again, we have this large dimension frame with the 85 marker. So we want to reduce that just so we have a little bit more control and we can move it around without having to worry about what we select. So, so let's start with the 50 marker. We're going to animate that. This was from previous, so we'll go ahead and start that over so you guys can see how that's done. Let's go ahead and reduce the the dimensions of the composition to 200 by 200, just so we know what's going on. Right away, it's gone. It's disappeared. So we know that the 50 marker is the biggest. So let's go ahead and parent everything to that 50 marker, and then we're just going to center align it, and then there it is. So it's there. So I want to have this kind of flip up and grow and maybe wiggle a little bit, so it's some inertial bounce. So we'll go ahead and unparent the shadow because we don't want to have the shadow attached to that movement. So let's go ahead and hit S for scale, Shift R for rotation, keyframe, shift page down, keyframe those two. Let's go back to the beginning. Let's say negative 90, or actually it's just 90, but it's not going the way that I want it to. I want it to rotate from there. So what we can do to remedy this is we'll go to the pan behind tool, and we're just going to drag that. Now it should snap, and you can have snap enabled in here. Snap to guides, and there's an option somewhere in here to snap to the dimensions of the layer. So let's just snap to that. So then, there we go. That looks nice. 0, so then it grows. But again, we're faced with the boringness of just it doing that. And then on the conversely, if you have your anchor point and you want it back in the center, but you don't want to have to do that, even though snapping is pretty handy, you can just double click your pan behind tool and it'll center it for you, and then you can just center a line. But let's not do that. So let's add some cool wiggle to this. And again, we're going to bring back the cool list of expressions that I have. Again, I'll share this in the description below, so you guys can have access to all this cool stuff. And most of this is from Dan Ebert, or if you just Google After Effects expressions, thegraymachine.com, I think is what it's called, and it will give you all of a lot of these 5 expressions every animator needs. But there's a few other ones like wiggle one dimension and bounce back. So we're going to copy paste this. And you can see it's a little bit easier to understand. We know what these values mean. We know it, amp, and we can understand that. The rest of this we don't really need to worry about. If we need to change something or make it look different, we usually just change these numbers to get the results we need. And I'll show you guys in a second. So let's go ahead and paste, and we can see a little bit of wiggle. Oh, it looks nice. And we can see in the scale graph how that looks. So it's a lot like the bounce back expression, except it dips down as opposed to coming back, but it's still diminishing. So it's not, obviously each bounce is a little bit less. What I always like to do is set this to a little bit higher. 10 is usually cool, and we can just copy that. And you can really mess with these numbers to get interesting results. Ooh, don't want that. Actually, I liked it the way it was. That looks nice. Maybe I don't know. Let's play with the frequency a little bit. See how that looks. Kind of get that little bounce. I like it. You guys can mess with it, see what you like, and yeah. So that's nice. So it stops about a second in. And since these two are parented, we're not going to do anything with these. We could, but right now, not really going to mess with those. So let's lock those, hide those, so we don't accidentally select those. I have the pan behind tool selected, so I hit V to go back to the regular selection tool. And then for the shadow, we can just animate opacity. And let's say 15 frames. I like to keep things half of the second or quarter of the seconds, just because that's how I roll. And we'll just go ahead and select that, Control Shift F9, or actually Shift F9 for easy ease in. Easy ease in. So there we go. And then we can change the color to black or to the gray. Okay. Open up my colors. We'll just see how it looks with the Control K. I like to kind of preview. So the shadow's not that strong, so we might be able to want to bump that up to 100. Cool. All right. So if we hit U, we can see all of the attributes that are in here. Yeah, 15. And we can do the same thing for in here. So I'll go ahead and get rid of all that. So again, with the composition dimensions, the height and width, we want it to be the same as the 50 marker. So 200 by 200. And then we can parent them all to the marker here. And then center, center. And then we have it in the center. And again, just so we can play with the pan behind tool, double click it and it will center to wherever your anchor point is going to be, and then we can just center that. So again, with these two, since we're not going to be doing anything with these, you guys can, but you know, for right now, we're just going to hide those. Let's also lock them so we don't accidentally select them. And then we can move that there. And we know we're going to animate the opacity. Since we don't want to have to, copy paste all those expressions again, what we can do is we should be able to just copy paste if we select the attributes, it will select all the keyframes in the timeline. So we select the rotation, Control or Shift for the scale, and then we Control C, Control V, and we hit U, and we can see, and not just the keyframes that were copied, also the expressions were copied over with them. So I think that's pretty cool. It can save you a lot of work by copy pasting keyframes. And then same thing with the opacity. Boom. We don't want the shadow, so we're gonna unparent the shadow. And I think in the other one I previously put on a fast blur. It might take you guys some time to realize, to learn where all of the effects are in here and what everything is called. But I think Adobe's done a pretty nice job of sort of categorizing everything and look around and play around with a couple of different things and see what you like. So whenever I want to blur, I always use the fast blur just because it does exactly what it says. It's the fastest blur when it comes to rendering time and preview renders and things like that. But the best blur is probably going to be Gaussian blur or I like the camera blur, but fast blur is fine. I think I had that to 15. What did I have that to? 15. So, again, we can change the background of this just so we can preview what it would look like. And that cuts off about. And you might want to play around, do some different things. But I think that looks pretty good for now. We'll go ahead and U. I like to have it all closed out, everything zoomed out. And if you hit the colon bar, the colon button, It'll zoom in all the way, and if you look at your mountains, you'll see that you're zoomed in all the way, or you're zoomed in all the way